Well, I did go see Winter Family again for the second time, and I enjoyed it even more the second time than I did than I did the first. The thing about seeing a movie the second time is you see things differently than you initially saw them during your first showtime. When you watch it during your second screening, it's like you just notice certain things. For example, I noticed that Brendan Fraser's character Philip, he he wasn't a real writer. Well, actually, I read that on Wikipedia, but he wasn't a real writer. He was acting like he was a writer to make another former actor feel like he's important, before he loses his memory. Basically, Winter Family is about it's this small business of individuals in Japan. They sell emotion, like the guy said, and they needed a talking white guy, so they hired Philip, played by portrayed by Brendan Fraser. So the premise of the movie is that you have an individual living in Japan. We don't know why. Not really too important, I guess. Although you will wonder why. He's basically been living in Japan for like give or take 7 years, I think. He knows some of the language, and in the movie they have a mix of subtitles and English. And by the way, there's a English version and there's also a version with Japanese subtitles, if you get what I mean. But they're kind of speaking both English and Spanish. I'm sorry, English and Japanese, because why not, right? They're the characters, but even Philip, played by Brendan Fraser, he's speaking Japanese as well. So it's just a cultural thing. But once again, Winter Family is about it's about a group of individuals in a small business. They, oops, sorry, wrong one. Their job is to sell emotion to people who need to connect to something that they once had. And I'm looking at the other screen so that I could see, so I can get the right page here. Oh, I was on the right page. I just saw this Zootopia 2 that came out today. Really, actually comes out tomorrow. Anyway, so you can see the premise right here, and the actors. You got Brendan Fraser, who plays Philip Van der Plong or whatever. You got Paulo Andre de Petra, plays handsome actor. I'm not sure who that is. These names seem to be out of order, kind of, at least not by popularity. Takahiro Hira plays Shinji Tada. That's the business owner that hires Philip. And you got Mary Yamamoto that plays Akio Nakajima, and she does a particular part of their service called apology services, and more on that in a bit. So initially, Philip does not want to do this service. He wants an acting job, but he doesn't want to do the service. He doesn't want to do what Shinji is offering him, because he considers it lying to people, and therefore he considers it to be, you're hurting people if you're doing it, because you're lying to them, and you're getting attached and pretending to be something that you're not, and then they get attached to you, and essentially they get broken up even more. And he doesn't want to do that to people. The film actually starts out with him showing him getting acting jobs. He has this thing where he's sitting down, wearing, I think, a banana outfit, of all things, because that's what he does. He acts different things, does different advertising jobs. He even has this one job he did earlier as a toothpaste, wearing a toothpaste costume, because he's doing a toothpaste commercial. Yeah, this is a fun little moment. You should watch it, see it. But then he's also trying to just get any gig to pay the bills, and to live. But he really wants that one job that'll land him, that'll make him famous. Not famous, but will really establish his career. And he actually later on gets that opportunity, but he tones it down. Now, more on that later. Basically, he starts his winter company job, and he shows up, and winter family job, and basically it's a funeral, and I'm thinking it's like a rehearsal for a funeral, kind of like you have rehearsal for weddings, but it's not that. It's all to make this one guy feel important, like he mattered. And what it is he's faking his death. Not his death, but his funeral. He's actually alive. And Brandon actually believes that it's a real funeral, but he's just playing a sad white guy. That was his first job. And this is before he really meets Shinji, right? His agent gets him this. And anyway, so what Shinji does is, he later explains what he is. But at first, Philip is kind of like thinking, he literally says, "What the f?" He's like, "Wow, this is like this guy's alive." But he's playing along. He's not, he's not letting it really get to him. But he's, you can tell he's asking questions, and we can see the guy in the casket, the dead man. It's kind of funny because there's a movie coming out called "Wake Up Dead Man," a Knives Out mystery. It's the third movie of the Knives Out series. I'm actually watching it tomorrow at Landmark Opera Cinema. Landmark Opera Cinema Plaza. Shame I don't have any money to eat out the nice restaurant nearby. Anyway, so back to it. Yeah, so the dead man that's actually alive, he's crying in the casket. He's crying because the actors are really selling it. They're acting like they knew him all his life. Of course, these actors didn't even know him, man. They're paid to act. They're given a script or whatever and improvise or whatever, and they just pretend to have known this guy in the casket, and he's like crying. And the film has got a mixture of emotion, comedy, drama moments. It doesn't overdo any of it. It's all well balanced, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. I feel like I should give it a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 just for the heck of it, because I really had fun. Oh, he's a tree, not a banana. I'm sorry. I just saw the little thing here. You can see the trailer.
What do you think we do today?
Isn't the same anymore. It's half the rate, twice the work. But I got you a gig and the pay is actually pretty good.
Look at the little bowl right there. Anyway, we can't really show much of this trailer, but
Best friends.
Yeah, that's what he does. Is he pretty much? Oh, I'm actually on the wrong display. My bad. Sorry.
Any help?
Yeah.
Many more. It's half the rate, twice the work. But I got you a gig and the pay is actually pretty good.
What's my part?
Sad white guy.
So, what do you think we do today?
You can just tell that the movie is fun by that. It's fun. Anyway, so yeah, he starts. That's the first job he has, right? But he doesn't know the group yet. So he meets what's his name, Shinji. Shinji explains to him what his job is, and his first job is to pretend to be a woman's husband, and the woman is actually a lesbian. She has a wife, but she cannot let her parents know because it's stigmatized in Japan. Her parents don't want her to be married to a woman, and she she doesn't want to disrespect her parents. She says to Philip, my parents are, happy or whatever that they, how, because Brendan asked her, Philip asked her, how's her parents taking all this, and they're saying, and she replies, they're happy. Basically, they don't know. So they're pretending, he's pretending to be her husband, depending to get married to her, actually. That way it could be kind of official, but she can actually move to Canada with her wife. And this is based on what I read on Wikipedia, but anyway, it's also, you can see it in the movie. Anyway, that's his first job, and initially he didn't want to do it. He wanted to like quit. He wanted to back out of it because he couldn't do it, the character Akio, played by Maya Yamamoto, she convinces him. She's like, people really need this. If you don't do it, you'll be negatively affecting someone's life. You'll be holding them. So he's like, well, I got myself in, and I might as well just go through with it. So he does, and he actually starts to see how he's changing people's lives. So he agrees to do it. But his next job is to be the father of a schoolgirl whose mom wants to get her into a private school, and she cannot do it without the father. The father has to be there with her during the meeting, because a single mother is looked down on. A single mother cannot get her children in the private school, because basically the way Japan is, formally they want the husband and the wife, the mom and dad there, both parents, the father and the mother, with the children. So a single mother it's just not going to cut it when it comes to getting your children into a private school. So, excuse me, my glasses are just hella crooked, and it's just driving me crazy. And anyway, so yeah, there's that. It's really it's really his first taste, in getting the job, but then he continues to keep doing it. So I'm sorry, the marriage was one. The second one, he of course he's being the little girl's dad. So he gets to know her. The little girl is played by Mia, by the way. Yeah, played by Mia, and I don't. Well, no, the little girl's name is Mia. I don't really know. I can't find her name on the IMDb list. Maybe Wikipedia has it. Well, me 1 second. It's a plot. No, cancer. It's Mia. Oh, here's mother. Oh, Mia Kawasaki. Shannon Mahina Gorman. A young girl in need of a father figure. Yeah, you can tell she's basically your Asian. So that's why they ask a white guy, because the little girl Mia, she speaks Japanese just fine because her mom's Japanese, but her father had to be white because you can tell she's Eurasian. But anyway, so he gets to know her. Also, he takes a second job, and this pretending to be a writer. He's pretending to basically write about an actor's life, because there's this famous actor that he was once a famous Japanese actor, but he started to develop Alzheimer's or dementia or something, where he loses his memory. So he's being taken care of in his family home or whatever. And so basically, his daughter hires the Winter Family Services in order to get an actor to pretend to be a writer to act like he's publishing a piece about his life. That he's writing act like he's writing a biography, right? And in order to do that, writers, they have to get to know people. They have to get kind of personal in a way. They have to spend time, eat, go hang out at a restaurant or something. So they do that. He later on helps him with the jailbreak, and I'll get on that in a bit. But yeah, he gets to know this old man and makes him feel special again. But it's really not making him feel special so much as actually help him. I just noticed that there's a speck on my glasses. Sorry. He's helping him before his memory is goes completely away, making him feel making him feel special again. And you can read about this on Wikipedia if you want or any other source. But I'm just telling it off the top of my head since I saw it the second time. Okay, so there's that piece. So there's like two plots going on. There's the one with the Gormia, and there's the one with the old man. The old man is if I can, I don't know if he's on here. I couldn't find him. Oh, retired actor Akira Imoto as Kiyumon Hasagaya, a Winter Family client and retired actor. See, the thing is, the clients don't necessarily know all the time. They don't always know that the actor is an actor. They think they're real people. The whoever hires the actor knows, and it might not be like this all the time. I think sometimes they know, but they want to feel special again. They want somebody to play their mom, their dad, or their significant other again to make them feel that same way, to bring it back. So they know that. That's what they sign for. It's what they pay for. But if you have a daughter that really needs to get into a private school and she's never met her dad before, of course you lie, right? That's what actors do. They don't really lie, but they act. Anyway, it's the same thing with this old man. So, Brendan Fraser is playing an actor. Brendan Fraser is an actor that is playing an actor. And that actor is playing roles. So in a way, Fraser is doing what he does best. He's constantly playing roles. R-O-L-E-S. I apologize. I can't roll my R's right. Anyway, I can't pronounce them right. He's playing these roles, and his job is to sell it. So he sells it to this old man and lets him know, basically convince him that he's a writer. He's got his little tape recorder, his little notebook, his glasses, everything. Anyway, so along the lines, you see the apology side of it, the apology services. And this is where the actor Mari Yamamoto as Akio, I'm just going to say Akio, because we all know the actress, right? Akio. She is an employee of the Winter Family Agency. She's employed in a specific branch of the Winter Family, and that it's called Apology Services. What she does is she pretends to be the mistress. That is the woman that a married man is seeing. If there's a married man that's been cheating on his wife, he doesn't want to bring the real cheating woman, the real mistress, to his wife, so he hires an actress to play that part. And part of it is that Akio literally gets slapped by the wife. It's kind of like, how dare you have sex with my husband kind of thing. Yeah, because in Japan, it's looked down on if a man cheats on his wife, and I guess a part of the custom is to bring the mistress to the wife, and this is the woman I've been cheating on you with. But, of course, they don't ever want to bring the actual mistress, the cheating woman, they hire an actress. And that's the apology services of Winter Family. And at one point, Brandon just says, do you like getting slapped? Do you like that part? Do you really like this job a lot? Because she's convinced him that she's really into it, because she says, we help people. She tells him, because he says, he tells her she's really passionate, and he asks her why she's so passionate, and she says, because we really are helping them to connect to something that they once lost or something they never had, and that's a good thing, because we're making them feel like a life is worth living. But really, what she will realize later is there's more to it than just being apology services, because at some point you got to be honest, and that's exactly what she does later. And I'll go ahead and tell you later on. She tells a married she says right in front of a married man doing one of her apology services gigs. She tells the woman that, ma'am, I'm actually just an actress hired by your husband because he didn't want to bring the actual mistress. And she spills the beans, tells her the truth, hands hold the actual business card that says Winter Family to let her know that she's telling the truth, and she leaves with a smile on her face because Philip had convinced her that she didn't want to keep doing the services anymore, or she shouldn't do that part of the services anymore. And she even tells Shinji that she quits. She says in Japanese, of course, but yeah, this is the first movie. Well, not the first movie, but one of the few movies I really liked. I really liked reading the subtitles. Because it's got that good emotional tie to it that you will want to read the subtitles. Because if you don't understand Japanese language, then you will want to read the subtitles to understand the story. Because dialogue is a part of the story. Okay, so we've covered that little part. Like I said, there's two major plots and there's little subplots around it. So there was even a cute little moment that Mia asked Philip, could he be the father to one of her classmates, her male classmates. Apparently it's her friend. She asked him, could you be his father too? And he says, sure. And because Philip was thinking, well, I'm already your dad, why not, right? And that just shows how much of a nice guy he is. I was really paying attention to Brendan's emotional acting. He was very facially and verbally, non-verbally good at acting. He really sold it. You can see that he's at some points, some parts he's concerned, some parts he's agitated or annoyed, and some parts he really cares. For example, there's a moment at the end whenever the actor that Brendan is hired to write a story. I'm making a little pen motion. He wants to do a jailbreak. That is, he wants to leave his home without telling his daughter or the caregiver, because he can't. He's not really supposed to, because he has Alzheimer's. He forgets. And there's even a moment earlier when they go to a restaurant that he actually forgets who he is, and Philip has to be like, Philip has to tell him, okay, you remember you're here, you came here with me. Okay, it's about time we go home now, because he's starting to lose his memory and wander off on his own, and that's what they do, is like they're trying to find their memory again, so I guess, or something, so they wander off on their own. It's kind of like the children in a way. I don't really know all about Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever it is. I think it's Alzheimer's. Anyway, is that what Wikipedia says? Anyway, so there's this moment near the end when he asked Philip to to help him with the jailbreak. He explains about it, that he wants to go to this place. And my first time seeing the movie, I thought that as an actor, maybe he wanted to go back to the scene where Jailbreak occurred in one of his movies. In one of the movies, he wanted to basically go back to the film set, or where the film set was. That's what I thought it was. And I also thought that he was a former prisoner of a former jail, like incarcerated, during the 1950s, 40s or 50s or whatever. And because he's that old, almost, I think. That's what I thought it was. Or maybe it was like one of his acting jobs when he was in a movie about something like that. And he wanted to return to the jailbreak area. But no, that's not what it is. This whole area is, I think, where he lived when he was with his first love. And it's so important to him that he wanted to return back. And the whole jailbreak is basically... That's just him leaving his home temporarily to go to his older home, because it's really far. And so jailbreak means like him to leave without permission, basically, which is something he's not supposed to do. And so yeah, and initially, Brendan is, Philip, he's on board. He wants to do it. He's willing to do it. But then, the daughter explains to him that he can't leave, and so he tells his client that your daughter wants you to stay here, and so it's like, fine. and then when Philip says see you tomorrow, the old man says no, that'll be all. I don't need your services anymore, and he just tells him to leave angrily. And this is the second job he's lost. So he loses both jobs. He gets both jobs at the same time, roughly the same time, and he loses both jobs at the same time, because eventually he gets too attached to Mia, to the point where she's calling him often and asking him for help with problems and stuff, and the mother that initially hired Philip doesn't want that, and he says, I'm just trying to be her dad, and he says, you know you're not her dad, and she even says, don't lecture me on how to raise my child. And he says he's just trying to help. Because Philip doesn't like the idea of children being forced into a private school from roughly middle school or second grade or whatever it is, all the way up to high school and beyond, like college. What I mean by forced is they already make a decision where they're going to be. They're in the same private school for, like, I don't know, 18 to 20 years of their life, roughly. More or less. I may be exaggerating a bit. It's just that he wants them to have more freedom, and the parents, he's like, I'm just thinking, he just says to her, I'll try to quote it, he says, don't you think that's a little bit too much, don't you think you're sending us to like that, I can't really say it, but basically he doesn't like the idea of Mia being sent to a private school, for so long, like all the way through high school and maybe college, and it's funny because you see her later on during the ending scenes going off to college, but you don't, or to the private school, so you think, but you don't see her, like, it's not that whole private school is not brought up again. It doesn't really need to be, but there's this whole thing, like, is she going to her original school or the private school? Maybe she starts a private school next year, I don't know. It's not really brought up, and I just thought that it should have been brought up, but maybe it doesn't need to be. Anyway, yeah, so because his last assignment of the Mia job is to basically go with them to the whole audition or interview for the private school. He's to pretend to be her dad, read the lines, not say much, keep his answers short and to the point. And he does more or less, but there's a moment when he kind of speaks impulsively, and he apologizes to the interviewers. He says, sorry, Americans, we speak before we think, because he impulsively says something. But there's a moment when he shows the interviewers pictures of Mia's art. Sorry, I'm putting everything in air quotes, but and first the mother was like, no, don't show them that, because I guess she thinks that the art will be looked down on, because all they care about is really just like, intellectual stuff like math, science. Well, not all they care about, but that's what they really emphasize their children learning is survival stuff like math, science, stuff that actually makes money. But he just wants to show how talented she is as an artist, and even the interviewer says that. So she ends up getting in eventually, but it's not without a heartbreak that Philip has to leave her, and so he has to tell his daughter that he's going back to the States, back to America, for an acting job. And of course Mia asks, am I going to see you again? You'll be back? And he says, I don't think I will be back. If I do, it'll be like maybe a few years from now or several years from now. So he tells her the truth, and she sadly walks away. That part could have been done a little bit differently, because there's other movies that have done better. But Mia, later on, her friend is over spending time with her at home. They're playing hide and seek, and he sees an advertisement, a commercial, on TV. And guess who's on it? Philip. He's playing it's his former role as a pilot. And so that's what he's been doing. He's been doing these little advertising roles, playing as characters in Japan. And Mia, because the boy says, "Is that your dad?" And then that at that moment, the audience actually laughed. Yeah, the audience actually laughed. That amongst many, because it's like, she found out, and she shows her mom, and her mom tells her the truth, because Mia's smart like that. She shows her mom on the tablet, and so, but never really explained what happened to Mia's dad. Never explained that. Did he divorce her? Did he die? Did he leave? What happened? Anyway, so my hair looks a mess. There's that part. Eventually, Philip does tell her the truth, that he's an actor. He tells her his real name, and that he cared about her just like he was his real daughter, like she was his real daughter. And, it's a happy ending, more or less. Oh, and as for the old man, Philip takes him back to his, that place he wanted to be at. He wanted to go before his memory completely was erased, before he forgot. And apparently, this is the home of his first love, who she felt ill when he moved to Tokyo. She felt ill, and it got worse from there, and he never saw her again, and it really broke his heart. And of course, all that time when he was younger, he spent time acting, and now that he's got this time as an old man, he thinks about it, and he's like, if there's one place I want to remember or go to one last time before I forget, this is it. But it being so far, his daughter wouldn't allow it, and he'd get caught before he'd get caught and brought back in before he could really go for her. That's what jailbreak means, and it took me the second time to understand that. Anyway, and it's funny because when he says when Philip goes back to him, he says, "Hey, jailbreak," and he immediately knows what to do. He gets up and Philip is like, "I bought you clothes," and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not wearing that. I'm wearing this." And he dresses up in this hat and this little tie or whatever, and these glasses, and he takes his glasses off like this. He looks all serious because he's a former actor, so. Anyway. So they go to that place very far. They get on a few trains, they get lunch or whatever, and and he explains to Philip, who she was. He finds the old photos in the soil near this old tree, and we see his crying moment, his emotional moment. He explains to Philip who she was and all that, what I just told you. They continue walking, and Philip asks him if he's okay, and he does, and he gets a phone call, and it's his boss, Shinji, who accuses him of kidnapping his client, and he says, something like, that wasn't your call to make, and he said no, it's his client's. He gave him the permission, and all that, letting him know that his client, we're supposed to be helping people. Is that not what you want us to do? And his boss is like, how dare you accuse me of blah blah blah. And then at that point, you see the old man fall over, kind of exhausted. Philip has to take him to the hospital or call the ambulance, 911. Well, I don't know, the ambulance, because it's not 911 in Japan, I don't think. And then at the hospital, the police, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, the police, take Philip in for questioning, and at that point, he's in jail, and he's got 2 days, 48 hours to prove his innocence, or he will be deported, which I don't understand that, because if he's a citizen, that he must not have permanent citizenship then, for them to deport him. Because if he was a permanent citizen, they would just hold him up in jail. They would hold him in jail. He actually could be sent to prison. According to the laws. And I'm not sure what the laws on kidnapping are, but it sounds like poisoning. But anyway, that doesn't happen because, really enough, the woman that, she quit the apology services, right? But she disguised herself as a lawyer along with the other guy. They disguise themselves as lawyers, and they go to the old man's house, and they meet the caregiver or whatever. But then the detective calls, says he wants to speak to so and so about the case, and it's none other than Shinji himself. Because Shinji is acting like I think he's trying to save his own business. Honestly, now that I think about it. But also he's in a way saving Philip, who is pretty much innocent of it, because he didn't really kidnap. It was all consensual, conceit, because his client asked him to do it. But that client later on says that he forced Philip to do it, and his daughter should drop the charges. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name. His name is his client. What is his name? Oh. Kikuo. Sorry, Japanese names are kind of hard for me to pronounce. Anyway, so that's the last. Do you think that's the last of it? But then Brendan later on hears that the old man, his client Kikuo, passed away in his home peacefully, and from that point, it's just a sad moment of Philip at the funeral. He's glad he helped him, but he's sad to hear him go, because he became real friends with him. And this it kind of brings back what happened at the beginning. It reminds you of what happens at the beginning of the film, when that other man was acting like a dead man, but he wasn't dead. He was the one that was crying because people were acting like they cared about him. That was a funny moment. So yeah. And then later on, then we see that actual funeral. Earlier on in the movie, actually, now that I think about it, Philip had been observing Kikuo. Is it Kikuo praying? The Japanese prayer that they do, and I do it all the time. And the video game Assassin's Creed Shadows. I mean, it's just a game, but still, I've noticed that they do that in the game, that the character claps twice, always, and they go like that, from their head, like that. And I'm not sure the formalities of it all, but I noticed they clap twice. And it's basically at a shrine. And you wonder, what offerings do they have? Is that the offering, or who are they praying to? What God are they praying to? Are they praying to their dead family members? Anyway, Philip notices this, and he asks Philip. Philip asks, "What's in there?" And the old man says, "Why don't you go and find out, or go and see?" And he says, "Another time." And that another time comes later, because it's literally the last scene of Philip going up to that to the same shrine that Kikuo went, and he does the prayer, but then he notices, and the camera freezes on his face for about 5 seconds. He notices himself. It's a mirror. It's just a mirror. That's all it is. It's just a mirror. So it's just there's nothing there, and Philip just smiles. And yeah. So that's the movie. It's a good blend of emotional moments, happy, sad, funny. It's really good for the family, honestly. And yeah. So, pardon me, I keep looking at the screen. I have a bad habit of trying to remember to look at the camera here. But I highly encourage my audience to go see it. If you have seen this movie, please let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't seen it, do consider it, because several theaters do discounts now, especially on Tuesdays. It'll be in theaters for about another month. AMC, that I'm a member of, A-List, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 50% off tickets. So a ticket that's only $18.99 will cost you $9.49. So for the price of one ticket, 2 people can go see it. I think 2 people should go see it. It's a good date movie, by the way. I know any movies, just about any movie is a good date movie, but Willy Winter Family is really good. I'm gonna go ahead and share you the rating because I'm very concerned. I'm actually curious. What is the rating of this movie? Oh, PG-13. I thought it was rated R, but yeah. Go check out Winter Family.